Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm FPL Nima and I'm joined by my co-host Clayton. We've got a blockbuster episode today to review the Fulham result and to also preview the Aston Villa game tomorrow with a quick turnaround. How are you doing, Clayton?
All good, all good. It's been a bit of a carnage day, hasn't it? Yeah, like you said, we obviously got to review Fulham, preview Villa for tomorrow, and then a bit of a spanner in the works come out with the Elneny injury. There's a bit of ambiguity around Zinchenko, so we'll touch on that. But more importantly, before we get into all of that, how was Budapest?
Yeah, man, I did a lot of walking. Yeah, I think I found some hotels for if we get to the Europa final for sure. But no, I did one day. I actually walked, I think it was 26 kilometers in like 33-degree heat. So
getting your steps in for the year then.
Yeah. So I had to do that with the amount of eating I was doing. It was basically all eating or walking the whole trip. So had a great time, but nice to be back and good to be on the stream with you. I watched the game from the hotel actually when I was out there.
Nice.
It was the most stressful game I've watched so far of us this season.
Honestly,
for certain.
I was so wiped out, like just mentally drained from it.
It killed me, man. Even once we went ahead, and I saw the 5 added minutes, and then the fact that time was being wasted in the 5 added minutes, I just had my like stomach in my hands almost.
It was churning, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did not feel good, but it was incredible to get that. I think I actually looked into it, and it was the first time we've come back from a losing position to win a game in a second half in 9 years.
Yeah, first time at home. So since 2013. Yeah, and it says everything about how we're changing as a team, in my opinion. So looking forward to. Obviously, we'll follow a similar format to how we usually do, doing both of our summaries and stuff. But before that, we thought we'll kind of touch on the Elneny news really and what that means in midfield. We've seen quite a lot of differing opinions on Twitter about that. So I thought it'd be good to it's the freshest news. Thought it'd make sense to kind of touch on that. Should we go for that first?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we've seen the news that Elneny could be out for some time. It looks like they're still assessing it, but could be a number of months by the look of things. And Partey's still a few weeks away. So I think our predicted lineups will have changed quite a lot in the last few hours. And then obviously Zinchenko sounds like it was precautionary and he's facing like a late test for this game tomorrow. But again, I'm not sure if he's going to be risked with United away on the weekend. So it's a tough situation to be in. We got 48 hours, maybe almost, till the window closes if we want to get any reinforcements. But for the game tomorrow, the Elneny news is a bit of a,
I guess, just before you go on to that outright question, do you think we need to sign a number 6? That seems to be the question doing the rounds on Twitter.
I think I've never seen Partey play 10 games for us in a row, and he was never really injury prone at Atletico. So that's a bit of an annoying one. I don't know what's gone on there, but I'd like to think that if he's only a couple of weeks away and, Sambi's supposed to be his understudy, I'd like to see Lokonga get some time. I do wonder if, Lokonga got a lot of stick last year after coming into the team, after not playing very many minutes because of the early exits in the Cups. I do wonder if he'd look better with a more stable team structure around him that we have now.
100%.
Because, if you look at the kind of team that we're playing in the defense that was in place when he had to play, it had the likes of Nuno and Cedric starting at fullback and Holding at centre-back at times. I do wonder if that was part of why Lokonga struggled. And I think I said this to you in the preseason where, it took Thomas Partey nearly 18 months of being with us to hone in on that lone 6 position on his own.
It's the toughest position in our team.
It's really tough, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm similar to you. I don't think he's quite ready to play that 6 himself, but I really think that when he played in a double pivot, he was fine. And I just think Partey is irreplaceable in our system. And you can't expect someone to come in and kind of do the same job as him to the same extent. So that's why I would rather take a chance on someone like Lokonga. He's in there. Not even take a chance. He's a good player. So I would kind of have him slot in there, have Xhaka drop a little bit deeper to help out in build-up phases and stuff and make it more of a double pivot as opposed to that 4-3-3 we've been using. And that's how I would like to approach things. But the reason I asked the question is I've seen people saying, we need to go buy a number 6. And I really disagree with that. I think if we do that, we've then got... I agree with your point on like Partey's never played... what was it? Like more than 10 games?
10 games or something.
Yeah. But I just think if you're looking at squad building, you've got Partey there, Elneny, who seems to be Arteta's second in command, which I want to talk about because I was disappointed with his performance against Fulham, which was an unpopular opinion, it seemed, and I'll talk on that later. But we've got Partey in there, Elneny, Lokonga. You can't have 4 number 6s. I think that's why I said in a previous pod, I look at the midfield as a group, like that central midfield as a group, like the number 8s and the 6. And I think if it gets to the 4th option that you're having to do, you don't go for a like-for-like replacement. That's where you start to get clever and tweak the system. And that's why I personally don't think going and buying an out-and-out number 6 is the solution. I felt we needed another number 8 anyway, not to the detriment of Xhaka, just to give us another tactical, versatile option. And I think if you do get a Tielemans, that's when you can look, okay, Tielemans, Xhaka in a double pivot, that's fine. Tielemans, Lokonga, Xhaka. Like, you've got options then, rather than a Partey coming out of the team and someone going straight in as a lone 6. That's my
that's a really
opinion on
good
it.
point. Yeah, I think like when we had Lokonga partnered with Xhaka at the start of last season, he did look okay for a while. So I think he just needs some support. And I do wonder if having someone like Zinchenko in the team playing left back rather than Tierney,
Exactly,
that would also provide that support that Lokonga would need if he's sitting with Xhaka in that pivot. But I think we need to just change our tactics when Partey's out, and it can't just be someone coming in to play the same position, the number 6, and making line breaking passes, which obviously we saw that Elneny wasn't doing. He was a very different type of number 6. But yeah, I don't think I'd be looking to buy one. Not personally.
Yeah, no, just to add to your point, Zinchenko in that left back, it's a very roaming left back role, and he's in and out of different zones like we've done to death. And I just think, I think the issue has been overplayed. Personally, I don't think from a squad building perspective you can anticipate 2 injuries to a number 6. I think that's just unfortunate, personally. The other thing I want to kind of squash is this idea of Ben White at 6. Like, on paper, I can see it. He's got the attributes, he's got the skills, but he'd done that at Brighton and Leeds. He hasn't done it for Arsenal, and there's a reason for that. He's important in other areas of the pitch for us, and while I can see that people would like that, I would like to see it. I just don't see that happening, personally. But
especially not tomorrow. I think I'm still confident that we're going to see Xhaka and Lokonga together, because if you don't see Lokonga start tomorrow, it kind of raises the question of like, then like, why aren't we loaning him? Like, if the other 2 CMs or the 6s are out and he was brought in to be Partey's understudy, why wouldn't we now play him when he's the 3rd choice 6 and the spot's there? Like, what? Like, why do we keep him if we never intend on developing him and playing him? So,
and he's been doing fine as a number 8. So, yeah, he's been doing fine as a number 8 when he's come on. So just utilize that and sort of form more of a double pivot. I think against teams like Aston Villa, with respect to them, we'll come on to them later on, we should have enough in a double pivot. Like, whether we don't need to die on the hill of 4-3-3 against them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've got nothing more to add on that. I don't know if you do on that topic before we go into Fulham.
No, I think that's the key part. I guess the only other thing we'll get into it when we do the preview of the next match is just whether kind of Tierney will start again. Obviously, he had the early sub. Is Zinchenko potentially going to start? Because now we're going to have to do a kind of Xhaka and Lokonga midfield. I don't know, but
should we do that in the preview?
We'll do it in the preview, I think. Yeah. So let's do that then.
Cool.
So let's go to the next match. So obviously, we can give a quick summary of how it went as well. We've got the lineups on the screen for anyone who's listening on podcast. So it's just kind of the starting 11 for Arsenal. Obviously, Ramsdale and goals, and Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, and White.
This was the
predicted ones. Yeah, so we got this wrong. Yeah. So the news came out that both Partey and Zinchenko were out. So obviously Elneny came in for Partey, Tierney came in for Zinchenko, and then we got the rest of the team was as usual: Martinelli, Jesus, Saka, Xhaka, and Odegaard. So I don't think any Arsenal predictor got that one right, because we didn't know anything. The presser, we were told everyone was fit. So that was definitely either a blatant lie or the injuries were picked up.
It sounds like it was quite last minute and very precautionary on Zinchenko anyway. The Partey one, I think Arteta may have told a bit of a porky.
Yeah, I think that one maybe. So overall, you've obviously got also the FOTMob stuff here as well with the ratings. You can see that Odegaard had an incredible rating at 8.7. He got another goal, played killer football, and when you look at his heat maps, he was basically everywhere on the pitch, but also pressing into the box quite a lot.
He was the conductor on Saturday, weren't he?
Yeah, I think seeing him come off the back of 2 goals, and then coming into this game, it just kind of felt like if we were going to win or score, it was all going to come through him. He just honestly, like, it was one of those games where I think months from now I'll still remember that performance because he just looked incredible. Like everything he did was like silky
Odegaard
smooth.
in the sun on a Saturday
Yeah,
at
he
home.
was so. I was so happy to see him. Obviously, in terms of like summary of the match, so for me, like obviously, I was very disappointed when we conceded. It felt like it was one-way traffic up until then, and like
Yeah,
Fulham had no chances. It felt like the only way they could get into the game is for a mistake of ours, and which obviously happened with Gabriel. He held on to the ball a bit too long and got nicked by Mitrovic, the last man you want to be having a ball nicked off you from. So that was disappointing. It was good to see that, similar to when Saliba scored the own goal the prior time. Again, like the fans and the stadium, they got behind the team, they pushed them on. It wasn't like normal where our heads go down and we panic.
yeah.
It felt like we could come back into it. And the only time I felt they were threatening was actually after we went ahead. So, bar the mistake, the only other spell of the game they looked good was the final 5 to 10 minutes when we were ahead. So, I definitely
Yeah.
think we dominated completely. We were basically playing in their half most of the time until the ball got conceded, which is part of maybe why Elneny didn't have to do as much defensively, I don't think, because we were just up the pitch the whole game. I know that obviously you said you have your issues with his performance, so I'll ask about that in your summary. I just think that he obviously doesn't provide what Partey provides, but he's kind of the self. Was
You
it
know what
the
you get with him, right?
Yeah, he's like the assured recycling possession kind of
Yeah,
guy, right? So I think that's okay. Tierney, I do wonder if Arteta's able to kind of get him to play the Zinchenko way and to play in his zone and to tuck in.
I thought he
I
looked
don't know
really
if he can learn
uncomfortable.
that. Yeah, he looked uncomfortable with it, but I don't know if it's something he can learn because he's obviously managed to get other players to learn how to do things in different positions. Like he's got Xhaka playing that role much better now. I do wonder, is it possible? Can he get them to do that? But it's a bit of a worry. I'm starting to think that maybe not, and that actually
Yeah,
when we play Tierney, we'll just play a different system.
yeah. I thought he looked uncomfortable in that role, and I know he's done it before under Arteta, but he is more of a an outlet as a left back, isn't he? He's more of a touchline fullback rather than the kind of tuck inside, create overloads, and whip out passes pretty quickly. Like similar how City are trying to do that with Walker. They both look like two pacey outlet fullbacks that just look a little bit uncomfortable trying to do that. And going on a little bit of a tangent here, pre midfield injury news, I actually thought Tomiyasu would come in for Tierney tomorrow with one eye on Old Trafford because he's both footed, he can tuck in fine, but I'm now not so confident on that because I don't think there'll be too many changes other than the enforced ones, and sounds like Zinchenko will be back for Sunday. But anyway, we'll go on to that later. Yeah, just going back to what you were saying about Tierney and the rest of your summary.
Yes, I think the other thing with Tierney is I felt like he definitely isn't a good option for Martinelli, like because he does hug the wing so much, and he's constantly trying to run forward and overlap. He doesn't kind of give the freedom for Martinelli in the attack as we've seen with Zinchenko playing back there. And I don't think that triangle of having kind of Tierney, Xhaka, and Martinelli, it doesn't look strong at all. It looks nothing
No,
like the Zinchenko, Xhaka, Martinelli. So I think we saw very clearly how much we were missing Zinchenko already in the way that the team likes to play now.
big
So I'd
time.
like to think he will be back for the United game. I'm not sure if he'll be rushed tomorrow.
The only thing I'd say on that is, like, I completely agree with everything, but maybe obviously it was the first game they've played together, and it's maybe just something that will take a bit of getting used to Europa minutes to get that familiarity together. But yeah, I couldn't believe how much we missed Zinchenko already.
It was frustrating. But I guess the other big thing was, so, it was just incredible, the second goal. So I couldn't believe it. Like I thought it was going to get ruled off for VAR. That was called for
Yeah,
handball.
same.
It was a bit scary after seeing like them reviewing it. I was like, no, we're done for here. We're done for. So the fact that it stood, I was ecstatic. I was so happy.
There was a guy in the stadium, right, like proper, like staring at me. The screen was behind him, and he was going like this and celebrating. And I was like, mate, look behind you. It's saying VAR. And then he turned around and he was just like this. And then like a few seconds later, it stood. It was just stuff like that is just so emotionally draining.
It is, man. I'm gutted I couldn't be there. Hopefully now that I'm back in the country, I can start watching some more games. Quick shout out as well, by the way, to Glenn Harriet and Christopher Tellers who've tuned in live as well,
Hey
and
guys.
we'll answer some of Christopher's questions. Because these are probably we'll get to the when we get to the preview. We'll talk about Zinchenko and whether he might be saved for United rather than risk tomorrow. But yeah, overall, I think it was a big game. I think we're gonna look back at that at the end of the season, and it's gonna be something that's gonna have shaped these players and their mentality because they're just winners. Like we saw the way Zinchenko was celebrating, running onto the pitch. They thought he was a pitch invader
they
as
thought he
well.
was an invader. Yeah.
So like, yeah, just seeing that, and even I saw a few videos of Zinchenko throughout the game and his reactions and how he was acting on the bench, and he just doesn't look like he knows how to lose. Like just like him and Jesus
Yeah.
just don't accept losing games. Like
No, it's
forget
really good to see.
titles and trophies. Yeah, they're like losing a match is just not something they're down to do. Like they're just not up for that.
Yeah.
And I love that mentality that we now have.
Same. Completely agree.
So what about you then? So for me, I guess that was just the highlight was just more that it felt like we really dominated, and bar a kind of sloppy mistake, we were fully in control, and it was good to see us be able to put our demons behind us. And despite conceding in the second half and going behind, we were able to come back for the first time in nearly a decade and win from there. So I just feel like it's a monumental stepping stone match for us, and it will help with the mentality of the squad going forwards.
I completely agree. I thought overall, when I say it was comfortable, I never felt like Fulham were going to come and score against us. I was struggling to see. I felt like we were knocking on the door quite relentlessly, and there were good half chances. We were getting into the right areas, and it was the kind of thing where a better first touch from Jesus or someone making connection in the right area. But that's stuff that doesn't show up in statistics, right? But there were a couple of half chances. Like, I don't know if you remember, I think Odegaard chipped a lovely cross across to Jesus, who knocked it down for Xhaka, who was running into the box, and that went wide. Saka went through, did a lovely little Cruyff turn onto his left foot and was closed down by Leno. Good goalkeeping. And even in the second half, when we were knocking on the door, it was relentless, wave after wave of attack. And like you said, their goal came against the run of play, but it was from a mistake that I don't think is a new thing in Gabriel. And what I'll do, because I like going position by position with the reviews and stuff, because otherwise I forget things just the way my brain works. But just going from like back to front, I thought Ramsdale, really good performance. I thought some of the saves in key moments, he was really strong. There was a couple of times towards the end, crosses into the box. He was commanding his box really well, really good, assured, confident performance from him. I also loved it when I don't know if you saw this, when he twatted the ball at Mitrovic's head. I'm glad Mitrovic is all right, but that did make me laugh.
I was going to say that was quite exciting to see the shithousery there, like just slamming the ball in his face.
It was karma. But yeah, and then just looking at the back four as a unit, I thought Ben White, again, very good performance. I know he got a yellow card, but I think he's just generally very good on the ball, and he's coming into his own in this system in that kind of inverted right back role, and he's getting that overlapping and underlapping ability added to his game. Not added to the game as in he didn't do it before, but it's becoming more natural, it feels to him. And that block, when was it Ramsdale saved it and then he kind of dived and it hit his back, I thought that was sensational defending. Saliba, nothing more to say, man. He is Rolls Royce. I'm doing him a discredit by kind of not talking enough about him, but that's the sign of a top quality centre back. Really, he is sensational. He really is. Gabriel, I think we need to have a conversation about this guy, man. He really happy he got his goal, and he kind of he got his goal. It was a bit of a redemption thing for him. But on the ball, he is sus. He really is. And I get the kind of left-footed centre back. I've said it myself how important it is, but on paper, I would like to see. I think White and Saliba on paper are our best partnership with what the attributes they possess and balance each other out are. And I do think, obviously, it's going to be tricky now without Partey for a while. But so this isn't something I want to see immediately. But long term, do we overemphasize the left-footed centre-back thing when we have got people like Zinchenko, Xhaka, who can come in and assist there, people like White and Saliba who are fantastic on the ball? Like Van Dijk plays left centre-back. It's not an issue for Liverpool. So I just think Gabriel,
I do worry about Gabriel, because he's got a few rash moments in him, doesn't he?
I've said it before. If there's ever a mistake from our defence, I believe it's going to come from him. And his passing ability is good. Like, he doesn't hit it in the most crisp way as everyone else, but he can pick out a destination and he can get the ball in there. For me, it's his first few touches. He never, like, when I was coached when I was young, the first thing was always receive the ball and take it out away from your body, so you're set up for your next action without even needing to think about it. And it feels like he always gets that bit wrong. So yeah, I thought he was not great on the ball, but defended well and got his goal to make up for it. So yeah, that was one thing. I thought Tierney, he looked off it to me, like we said. So I won't talk about the inverted thing because we've already done that. But I thought he lacked a bit of match sharpness as well. I thought there was a few times where he went in for a few sprints and he just looked a couple of miles an hour off it and a few yards behind where he needed to be. And obviously the tactical sub at 61 minutes, I don't think was necessarily a reflection on him, while he was probably one of the poorer ones. I think it was just we needed to sacrifice somewhere to get Nketiah on up top and kind of go 3-5-2. Midfield, Xhaka, absolutely fantastic, man. His football IQ is so good. The way he does those effortless rotations, the way he creates space for people, the runs into the box, the defending, he's having the time of his life at the moment. Odegaard completely ran the show. He is a joy to watch when he's like that. He is genuinely like a conductor in an orchestra, and he is just dictating everything. And I thought he was fantastic. I'm not going to go to town on Elneny. I was just a little bit disappointed. And again, it's nothing to do with him. We know his limitations, and he's been asked to come in and do a very tough role. Like I said, I think Partey is the most important cog in our system. And the things I noticed with Elneny is with Partey, right? When we're building up, he picks up really clever positions, and he's kind of on the half turn already. You can ping it into him. He's so pressure resistant. He'll turn and he'll set up an attack with an aggressive vertical pass. Elneny goes hiding, in my opinion, and I saw the stats. He completed like almost all of his passes, but they were all side to side, and like he's very good at that. He will recycle possession, but it was so visible from my seat in the stadium that he was not there as an option to give him the ball to set up attacks. And the one thing I noticed a lot was, so everything about our principles of play, positional play, which I talk about a lot, numerical superiority and zones, right? We had a lot of 3v2 overloads. Ben White, Saka, Odegaard were in great positions, and they moved Fulham's structure, which is what everything how we play is about. They were moving Fulham's structure, and there was space that vacated for Elneny to go in, drive into it, command the ball, and set up an attack. And it's the difference at the top level in those 2-3 seconds. And he just doesn't do that. He doesn't have that about him. And that's why I would rather, personally, again, it's nothing against Elneny. Like, we know his limitations, but for me, he'd stick him in the Europa League. I would much rather get someone like Lokonga minutes and sacrifice a bit of our desired system and just restrain Xhaka a little bit, help out Lokonga a bit, because Lokonga does have that ability. He needs more bravery, which will come with age and confidence, but he's got the ability to take the ball on the half turn, pick out the passes, and that's why I was a bit disappointed with Elneny. And I'm sorry, I know I'm waffling. Just my final bits of the summary.
No, it's good because you're going through each position as well. I think it's a nice way to go through and make sure we cover each player.
It's just otherwise I forget things. And just the final bits, I thought Saka was good. I thought he had a much better game. I thought Anthony Robinson did really well personally at left back. I thought in his duels with Saka, he gave him a tough run. And but yeah, I do think Saka did well. He combined nicely with Odegaard. Obviously, got a bit of a lucky assist. But I thought he looked back to his usual self, and it will come. I'm not worried about him at all. I think some of the worries about him are being a bit overstated personally. And then Martinelli, Jesus, I think they both. I thought Jesus had a quiet game, but at the same time, he almost got an assist for Xhaka's half chance, and then someone cut it. I think it was Xhaka cut it back for Jesus just inside the box, and it was a bit of a tame effort. But it's again on another day, Jesus is picking up fantasy points and output, and I think it's great that he had a quiet game for his standards, and we still came out with a win. And Martinelli, I thought he was okay. I thought his decision making was a bit off on Saturday, but these guys are so young, right? I thought his decision making and final delivery, I thought some of his crosses were a bit subpar, although he nearly scored. He hit the crossbar. But yeah, so that's my kind of general summary, I think.
Yeah, I think just on the Saka you were saying earlier, like I was a bit disappointed that he didn't score from the position he got into.
Need to, but I thought
Yeah,
Leno
that
closed
felt
it
like
down really well.
Leno did do well. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, I
But
just think
overall, I think you've made a good highlight of each player. I think you are right. Like, there was definitely some weak points there, and I think Gabriel didn't do himself any honors. Elneny didn't. He did look like he went hiding a bit, as you say. And I do wonder if one of Martinelli or Saka gets a bit of a rest tomorrow. That, like, we've all predicted him to start, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Eddie play. I think he's just
he
worth that
deserves
shout
it.
out. Yeah,
He
he
does
deserves
deserve.
it. Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, thanks for calling that out because his cameo when I said it in the summer, as a rotational forward, he is a top option. Like we need to forget this perception that we used to have about him. He's not a poacher. He has got so much more to his game. And I'm putting that down to Arteta's coaching. I think he's really squeezing a lot out of him, and he does deserve a start. I'm just not sure where it's going to come from until the Europa. But yeah, that I really liked Arteta's change going to that 3-5-2. I thought, like, he's done it before. I saw a few people saying, "Oh, he's not done that," but he has done it before. I just think he's got so much faith in the structure now as a team to kind of go and get that. And it was wave after wave of attack. I don't know about you, but I always felt confident that that goal was coming. And yeah, like you said, it's the first time we've done that at home since going behind in the second half since 2013, right? So as a team, this team, we've put 12 points on the board from 4 games. What more can we do? And Fulham are a tough team. We put up more XG against them than Liverpool did. So
Yeah, no, that's true. Honestly, I think overall it was a great game considering all that happened. But I think just on Eddie, what the one thing I want to say is that what I loved is that it felt like we have that option now more this season as a plan B, where Martinelli and Saka can go wider so that Eddie and Jesus are given space to not kind of compete for the same zone,
yeah,
and they can kind of run that forward line together and have that front too. I think we're going to see that as a plan B more often. But also the substitution was very Wenger-esque. It was like
it
taking
was.
off your left back 60th minute for a striker. It kind of just made me smile. I couldn't help but smile. It was like we've only just gone down, and like there's 30 minutes of a game to manage, but we're sending on a striker for a left back. Like
It's aggressive,
it's
and
so
I like it.
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
but
not seen anything like that for years.
I don't know. Like this, what he did do it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But at Newcastle, he took off Tavares on the 60th minute. So like he has done it. I just think now it's working, and he's got more confidence in doing it because of the pieces of the jigsaw around it now. But yeah, really exciting. Anything else you want to call out that you think we missed?
No, I think that's good for the summary of the game. Yeah, I think we can look at some of the stats around it and then go to the next preview, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So we have the mark stat spots data here. So as you say, like the cumulative XG here was 2.53 for Arsenal versus 0.69 for Fulham. But
One thing we said
71%.
we'd call
Oh
out,
yeah, we
just
were
sorry
going to
before you,
call out the XG.
yes,
Yeah, good point.
obviously there's different models. So for the sake of the graphic, we use Mark's brilliant stuff, but it's just worth calling out. So he's got the XG for the game at 2.53 to Arsenal and 0.69 Fulham. But FBref, which uses StatsBomb's model, which is the most accurate one in the game, had Arsenal's XG at 2.4 and Fulham's at 1.1. So just worth calling that out.
Yeah, no, that's a good solid point because they all use different inputs for their XG models. I think things like FBref or Understat, or even StatsBomb, they're generally like more reliable. But we'll put that in the slides in the future episodes. For the possession, it's 71% for Arsenal versus 28%. Field to it was 83% in their final third
It's
versus
what you said, right?
16%.
You said you had the feeling that we were playing in their final third often, and
Yeah,
yeah,
like pretty much the whole game. Yeah, so it was a bit crazy. But I think overall, like bar that little slip up moment, like they didn't show much. And then you can see here, like most of their XG that they accumulated was towards the end, especially after we were winning. They
just
looked a
look at
lot
how
more
that
threatening.
changes after the 60th minute sub. It just goes boom, doesn't it? Like it was
Mm.
wave after wave of attack, and we were knocking, and again, a lot of it was down to Nketiah. I feel like he made himself a nuisance. He got himself into good positions. He was quite unlucky when he did that little Cruyff. He overhit it, I thought, didn't he, when he Cruyff turned it in. It's a bit of a donkey touch, and then he had the attempt with his left foot, but Odegaard chipped in a beautiful ball for him, which he could have volleyed. Just that sub, I thought, changed the game. Well, okay, it didn't change the game. It changed the flow of the game, and just look at that graph after that sub. The increase in our likelihood to get a goal just went through the roof.
Yeah, no, totally. And then the passing networks. So again, here you can see that Jesus did try to link up with the left side a bit. He did work with Xhaka, but Tierney's nowhere near kind of as involved in the play as we can see. He's kind of hugging the sidelines a bit more.
Look at
Uh,
Elneny, man. Like this is okay. I'm not going to scapegoat the guy, right? I just mean it was so noticeable. Look, no one was passing to him from the back. Like the ball was going to him, and then not really going anywhere of note. And yeah, that's how I felt in the stadium. I said it, I was sat next to my mate Andrew, and I called it in the game. I was like, look at this. Like, you know what I said about the moving of the structures and Elneny needing to go in and command the ball? I could just see that immediately. And yeah, I mean, it's reflected in the pass map, which says it all. But again, structurally, as a team, we looked good.
yeah, no, I think it's nice to see that there is a structure, and even with the missing players, there is a system, even if some of them, like say, Elneny and Tierney can't play that way. One thing I would say is that what I noticed with Saliba was he almost took up the line-breaking pass role from Partey. So
Yeah,
although Elneny was playing as the six, Saliba was trying to pass forward and he was trying to find Odegaard quite often, actually. And you can see it here in the passing network. There's Saliba as a number 12 to Odegaard as 8. They had quite a few passes together, in fact.
his passing ability is scary, isn't it? Like
He just skips our midfield entirely and goes straight to our attack.
he's so good. Yeah, I don't want to. You know, when we kind of big people up to the point that all they can do is fall. I don't want to do that, but this guy has got scary potential.
Yeah, no, he's honestly like I just can't imagine like him actually being the one who's dropped at any point. So
No chance.
I worry if I was Gabriel or White, and I wouldn't think that just being left-footed is a good enough reason to stay in this team if
No.
Tomiyasu breaks back in.
I just felt like that. If ever a game summed up Gabriel, it was Saturday. Like a bit clumsy on the ball. That's how Fulham got their goal against the run of play. But then he made up for it in the opposition box because he's such a nuisance from set pieces.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was the perfect game, as you say, to capitalize on both scoring and being a cost for the goal. It's like it sums it up perfectly. So this is the territories of control. You can see that again, it's this similar pattern where Saliba kind of stays on his own to defend and sweep up, and the entire rest of the team almost plays in the opponent's half when we're at home, especially. It's quite nice to see. Martinelli did do quite a lot off the ball out of possession, but it wasn't perhaps as convincing when he was in possession. His corners were not the most brilliant. I definitely think most of them were a bit.
Did you get that perception as well? Because I felt that way.
It felt
in the
like
stadium,
they were all missing the target and they're going straight to the goalkeeper's hands. And yeah, it felt like something was a bit off with his corner taking for sure.
Bit random. What did you think of Leno's performance?
It definitely looked like someone who was there to impress, to make sure that we don't forget what we're missing. He wanted to do his best to get a win. I'm sure a lot of these ex-Arsenal players do when they come to the Emirates.
He got a good reception, which was nice because I've got a lot of time for Leno. He was a very good servant for us. He took over from Czech, right? And that was the first kind of change in how we saw goalkeepers at Arsenal, I think, and did a good job for a few years. And he never moaned when he got displaced. But yeah, I was happy that he kind of helped us with a couple of the goals, and a couple of bits of his distribution was a bit PTSD for me, seeing him slice it in the air and stuff. But no, fair play to him. It was nice. I saw he got a nice reception in both the clock end and the North Bank, so that was nice.
Yeah, I saw even in the tunnel and the cameras, it was showing that the teammates were kind of hugging him and saying hi. So he definitely got a nice reception, for sure.
The other thing I just remembered was, do you remember Martinelli's chance when he got the ball and he weaved past the right back, and then he was kind of in line with Leno on the touchline, and he tried to shoot, and like Jesus and Odegaard.
It was a very tight chance, and the other two were like, "Why didn't you pass?"
From my seat, I thought it went in because I'm in line. I'm in line with that. I'm in line with the line, and I thought he went behind the line, and I was like, "Oh my god, how's he got that in?" But then with hindsight, I'm like, "Oh, he definitely should have squared it."
Yeah, I think he definitely should have squared it. I was thinking to myself, like, why is he trying to shoot from here? Like, that angle is so tight. My God.
That's the decision making that I think will come with age, right?
It is. Let's quickly touch on FPL very briefly. So the mini league code for anyone listening on pod as well is AV2ZQR. So join the AFC BiteSizes mini league, compete with the crew. The link will be in the video description and the podcast description.
We've got a new leader.
Do we? Who's a
So at top, we've got Jimmy Almqvist with 290 points. And I think his team news is Hedge Jesus FC. So well done, Jimmy. I'm not sure who Jimmy is on Twitter. So if he is listening, it'd be good for him to let us know.
Yeah,
just on
message.
FPL, obviously, deadline's in 12 minutes. Have you seen any news that's worth?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I'm kind of sitting here trying to confirm my transfer to sell Reece James. I'm really stuck here. I'm looking to get Perisic. The Paul guy has, the journalist Paul O'Keefe. He's put his predicted lineup out. Perisic.
Are you sure it's not? Oh,
it's not the fake one. This is the real guy.
He's not in it.
No, he is in it.
Oh, okay.
But it's West Ham away. Could he then be benched for Fulham home? Then Champions League starts, and then he has City away. And then it's kind of my wildcard time. So part of me is like, Perry, as I call him, he just feels like the sexy pick for the upside. But City's fixtures are better, and getting someone safer like maybe Diaz or even Walker in defense, it just feels like safer. But I don't know. Like, I feel like I just have to go for Perisic. Like, if I'm going to sell James,
if I
want another fullback.
Yeah. So to be honest, if I was a better FPL player, I probably would be getting rid of James. I'm playing Andreas Pereira, and my first sub is Nico Williams, but I've only got one transfer, and I like the idea of having 2 frees on the weekend. I want to redistribute Saka's funds, get structure-wise one Arsenal defensive asset, stick with Martinelli, Jesus. So I'm unfortunately rolling against my will. Captain?
I'm going for Haaland.
Same.
I can't resist. I just can't resist.
I yo-yoed a ridiculous amount, but I'm going Haaland, yeah.
Yeah, I have to go for him. Just his kind of goal scorer odds, City's odds to score 2+ goals. I know he can get an early substitution, but I'm hoping that he does like a 17-minute hat trick and he can be subbed early. That's all good. So last week's points, I guess you wanted to read out. So Odegaard got 10 points, Gabriel 9, Saliba 7, and Saka 5. So it was not kind of much to write home about. Obviously, like all the clean sheets were lost. Saliba got a assist he probably doesn't know about with the ball coming off his face or his arm, whichever way you look
Saka's at it. A bit fortunate assist, right, because of Odegaard's deflected goal.
Yeah, so it's all a bit crazy. I definitely think it was our toughest game so far, apart from Palace. I do think that Bournemouth and Leicester didn't prove able competition as such. Even though we dominated, we were struggling to create, and the lack of Zinchenko showed. From an FPL point of view, I don't really like our fixtures defensively in the next few weeks, apart from just this next one that we have.
Obviously, Partey being out for 2-3 weeks, he's likely going to miss. Well, obviously Villa tomorrow, Man United on Sunday, and then Everton at home the week after, and then he will likely be back for Brentford away.
Yeah, so I feel like in that period, it impacts us defensively massively, right? I think there's a lot of Zinchenko owners. They're selling him. He could be back as soon as the weekend. I don't think we'd risk him tomorrow, hopefully, even though it's a late test. He's been sold Zinchenko by like hundreds of thousands of managers. I think at this point, if I had him and it's 8 minutes till deadline and you don't know what to do, I'd probably look to move him on too, personally. You can get back an Arsenal defender once we see how the back line reshapes with everyone fitting with Partey back. But I'm not too hot. The one person I want to call out is I think Odegaard might be a cheeky differential punt, and he might actually be the better third attacker if you're going for triple Arsenal attack over Saka.
I think so too. I think just the way we're playing, it's nothing. I think Saka in isolation is fine, but he's not cheap. He's 7.9 million now, and I just think the way we're playing structurally, he is kind of holding that width a bit more. He's still getting into similar areas, but not as frequently, because we don't need to go so heavy down that right hand side. And with him holding that width, he is opening up the channels for the likes of Odegaard and Xhaka to arrive into the box more. So I completely agree with that. And what I'm doing is just because of the way my transfers have gone structure, I'm holding him one more time for Villa at home tomorrow night. Which I think he'll be fine. But then long term, I just think I can use the money better elsewhere. I prefer someone like a Luis Diaz in that spot. Obviously, there's a few sort of sub 7 million mids that are flavour of the month as well if you want to redistribute funds. But I think in isolation, he's fine. But I agree. I personally would go Odegaard instead if you want a third attacker value for money wise. Did not think I'd be saying that last year.
Yeah, I know he's changed considerably. It's like he's gone to being an FPL asset suddenly, and Saka looks great on the pitch, but maybe isn't an FPL asset for the time being.
For me, I think he'll be fine. Like I said, in isolation, I think he'll be absolutely fine. I just don't think you can justify that 1.4 million more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think the money savings were. So let's go to the predicted lineup versus Villa tomorrow. See the big match.
Yep.
This is what you'd gone for. Do you want to read out for the podcast listeners, and then I'll give like my variation of the lineup that I also considered?
Yeah, sure. I think we were both similar in the thinking, to be honest. So Ramsdale in goal, back four of White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Zinchenko, which we'll touch on in a second. A slight system tweak to a 4-2-3-1. So that's Lokonga and Xhaka in a double pivot. So Xhaka playing slightly deeper. And then the front four, 4-2-3-1. So Saka on the right, Odegaard number 10, Martinelli left wing, and Jesus up top. And so a few things that went through my mind this week. So like I said earlier, before the midfield news came out, I looked at the Fulham game and thought Tierney struggled. And without knowing any more information on Zinchenko and one eye on Old Trafford on Sunday, I thought Tomiyasu would come in for Tierney. And the thinking behind that was Tomiyasu, he's both-footed. He can play that inverted role comfortably. He's played left back before. And I just think he's more suited to that game at Old Trafford. Like I said, I think, and that's kind of getting rhythm in the tank. Someone like Tierney, I think he just looks a little bit off it at the moment. And I think he's going to get reintegrated in the Europa League personally to get himself back up to speed. But like I said, that was pre-injury news, right? The injury news came out, and then I thought, okay, I don't think Arteta is going to make as many changes, and I think he's going to try reduce the amount of changes and keep that consistency and only go for the enforced change. So that's why I think Lokonga is going to come in for an Elneny. Xhaka will drop slightly deeper to help with the build-up. And the reason we went Zinchenko here, well, okay, I'll speak for myself and then let you talk about yours, but I think we're on a similar page. Zinchenko was ruled out of Fulham as precautionary, and it was a knee sprain. And we saw he had the bandage on his knee, but he was running around like a madman. And the quotes post Fulham, which were embargoed, suggested that he wouldn't be available for tomorrow. But then there were local journalists today. So today's Tuesday. Local journalists today saying that he has a chance to be available for tomorrow, and he'll have a potential late fitness test. And for me, I think given that we're working on the assumption that Lokonga comes in, I think Zinchenko will play because it's still Thursday, Friday, Saturday time, 3 days recovery time for Old Trafford. Failing that and Zinchenko doesn't play, I do think it will be Tierney. Just because, like I said, pre-midfield injury news, I thought Tomiyasu would come in, but as a result of the midfield injuries, I don't think he'll go and change too much on that left-hand side. So long-winded answer, but there's a lot of new news.
There's so many nuances as well, isn't there? So I think for me, I predicted pretty much the same team, except I had Tierney in for Zinchenko because I thought he wouldn't be risked. The problem is if it's that Tierney, Xhaka, Martinelli wing again, and then you have Lokonga, not Elneny there, something feels off with that. And I think that's maybe where people were discussing the potential of White playing there. So having like a Tomiyasu right back, Tierney left back, White as a 6, with Xhaka and Odegaard. Like there's just so many variations. It's going to be hard to predict, but I think your team makes the most sense. It sounds like Zinchenko was very precautionary and that he is fine and he's getting a late test. With everyone else out now, I can see that he would actually play. There's enough time between this and the next game. And so I'd like to think this is the lineup we go for. I don't want to see Tierney starting, especially if Lokonga's in mid. There is one final alternative that I considered, which is Zinchenko could be the CM or even the 6. It's not ideal, but there could be an option where it's Tierney left back and Zinchenko still plays, but just plays instead of Lokonga.
Yeah. One thing I'll say, by the way, conscious of everything I said on Tierney, if Zinchenko isn't up to speed, my preference would be Tomiyasu, but I wouldn't be upset with Tierney again. I think we can get away with it again. This is going to come back to bite, but we can get away with it against teams like Villa, with respect to them. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it will be another match in the tank for him to get up to match speed. But yeah, I wouldn't be ideal, but I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
My transfer is done, by the way. 2 minutes till deadline. Reece James out, Perisic in. Goodbye, Ruben
Perry,
Diaz
Perry.
and Walker. Piri's in.
Come on, West Ham.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is I always Arsenal above FPL. So I think we had this chat in an Arsenal group chat, didn't we? And like I will do things like Captain Aguero against Arsenal, but if he blanks, I'd rather that and be happier. But if
Oh,
he doesn't blank, I still want the FPL points. So when I see teams like Chelsea and Spurs lose, I don't really care that I have their FPL assets. I just find it a successful weekend either way.
People that know me well enough know when Arsenal are playing and it involves anyone to do with our rivals, I could not give a shit about FPL. Like,
I
no
love
question.
it. All right, so let's look at Villa's lineup against West Ham and Crystal Palace quickly.
Yeah, reason I included both was obviously Gerrard doesn't know his best team right now, does he? And they've been flicking between the 4-4-2 diamond
he does,
and the
yeah, he
4-3-3.
alternates every few times.
So I guess just reading it out for the podcast. So against West Ham when they lost 1-0, it was our good friend Martinez in goal, who I can't wait to do the interviews in the next 7 days. Back four of Matty Cash, Konsa, Chambers, Luca Digne. And then a diamond midfield of Kamara at the base with Louise and McGinn either side with Coutinho at the top, and then Ings and Watkins up front. And then the 4-3-3 that they used when they lost 3-1 to Palace was, same Martinez in goal, different back four. So it was Cash, Konsa, Mings instead of Chambers and Digne. Midfield three of Jacob Ramsey, Kamara and McGinn. And then the front three of Bundia, Watkins and Bailey. So it's a lottery. I personally think they're going to go for the 4-3-3 tomorrow. And I don't know who will drop out, but I think Bailey will come back in. Just conscious of that. I can't logically say why. It's a gut feel. That's what I think they'll go with. What about you?
Yeah, no. So I think the problem is his kind of front three that he's attempted a few times. Like he abandoned it after the first game when they lost to Bournemouth. It should work, but for some reason, like Bailey's a baller and it's just not been going well for him. And I do think it's all down to Gerrard's tactical ineptitude. And then he kind of reverts to what he knows. Yeah, so I feel like he then reverts to the front two because it's something that he knows can work for them. So he just goes with that kind of formation. And I do think Gerrard will potentially be the next one to be sacked now that Bournemouth lost their manager in Parker. But there's also talks about Bailey going to another club.
I saw this,
transfer window. Yeah, that was a
the
surprise.
club, but I also saw that.
I think it might have been. Yeah, it might have been a Bundesliga team.
Yeah. One thing I'll say on this, obviously we included both of their potential lineups because we need to be aware of their systems. I didn't go to town on data this week like I have in the previews for Fulham and Bournemouth, just because where they've played two different systems, it affects so much of that data in terms of where chances come from, where they're conceded from. And I just thought I'm going to go simple with my analysis this week. As a team, we are structurally good enough to just beat either one of the systems that Villa come with. And I think we've got enough threat across areas of the pitch to be able to get the job done. So that's my very simplistic layman's analysis and prediction for tomorrow. But I just thought it was worth calling out. Obviously, they have used two different systems so far. Don't know if there's anything else you want to add before we go on to score predictions.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add is Arteta had said in the embargo quotes for this match I think he did a post-match presser when we played Fulham, and it was like embargoed until now as a preview for Fulham because there wasn't enough time to interview him. And he said that he expects him to be very physical. So I think with that in mind, that's why I'm confident that the likes of kind of Saliba will still be there, and it's not going to be like Tomiyasu coming in, Saliba dropping out. The other thing is, though, I do wonder if we'll see a similar scenario where Eddie comes on early again, because I'm just thinking to myself, like when he signed the contract, he wanted playing time. And he must have been told that he's going to play like the Europa games, the Cup games, and I don't know if it's Arscast or if it's Arsenal Vision. One of them said that they expect he's basically been told, like, look, you're always going to be the first sub in the Premier League. Like, if we're losing a game, you're the first sub because you're going to come on to chase it. If we're winning a game, we'll take off Jesus to rest him. If we're losing, we'll send you on with Jesus to come back. So it's almost like there's got to be like Eddie's got to be getting minutes. And when he came on, like we looked so much better that game. So I do think we're going to see him very early on in this game again.
Yeah, but I think this is the thing we've been saying in pre-season, right? Like, move away from the concept of first 11s, and people like Eddie are going to get so many. If we're going to look back at the end of the season, and all of those 20 minutes coming on, the 30 minutes, they'll all tally up. He'll get the Europa League starts. Like, I think we just need to move away from that mindset. Not you and I. Like, I think a lot of people need to move away from that mindset because he will get the minutes, and I personally think the rotation in terms of the starting 11 will actually come when it's not enforced, will come in the Europa League, personally. And I think that's where people will get the minutes. And it's going to be every week. Not everyone, majority of people in the squad are going to be playing every week because we're going to have a Premier League team and we're going to have a Europa League team in the group stages leading up to Christmas anyway. And there's going to be a game a week for everyone. So I'm not stressed about that at all. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited to see if anyone comes in. Obviously, we've been linked to the Ukrainian winger and 21-year-old from Shakhtar, and
yeah,
that's looking like I think it was Everton who went in for him, and they went in at like 30 million euros. It got rejected. We might go in at 35 million euros. I think
okay,
we're about 10 million apart in valuation. It sounds like, so we've gone in at like 15 million pounds. They want 25 million pounds. I could see that happening now. We've got some CMs we're talking to. Like, I have no doubt that Edu and Arteta and the team are busy trying to get a couple more quality reinforcements in, but they have to fit the squad build plan. Like, they're not going to just
yeah,
be panic signings because some players are
yeah.
out injured.
That's what. So for me, the signings we need haven't changed from what I felt 2 weeks ago. I still feel we need a number 8 and another wide forward. And the Elneny news, I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. The Elneny news for me hasn't changed that. It's how I look at the group of the midfield holistically and what we can do. So yeah, fingers crossed we get it over the line.
So on to the score predictions. So far we've got all the results correct. Only 25% correct scores, so one game each. I've predicted 10 goals for you. You've predicted 9. We've scored 11. I've predicted 2 against. You predicted 1 against. We've conceded 3. Obviously, 2 of them in that Leicester game.
Goal difference wise, we're both on 8, and the goal difference is
Yeah.
8, so we're doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing okay. Goal difference wise, you're right, actually. Yeah. We could
Wait,
always
have I
look at
got
it
my
that way.
maths right there? Yeah. I was like, oh crap, have I just done myself live with my maths? But
No, you've done well there. Yeah, so we're doing all right, I think. In terms of what do we think for this game? So with the changes we've talked about and them being quite physical and potentially playing a different system or changing system halfway through the game, I'd like to think that even without the likes of Partey, like this game should be fine. Like it's a bit mad to be considering going 5 wins on the trot, but like I'm pretty bullish that surely we can win this one too. And we
go on.
probably need to because there's no party against United. So
No.
that game at Old Trafford is looking cagey as it comes with Casemiro probably in by then. Anthony sounds like he'll be ready to start. So that game's not looking too good, really. So I'd
I'm
like to get as
gutted we're
many
not
points
doing
as
a
we can.
yeah, I'm gutted we're not doing a preview for that. So just for the listeners, I'm going to Milan on Friday for the Milan derby, so there won't be a preview. I guess we'll do our score predictions for Villa, and then we can spend like 2 minutes doing United, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, we
Or
can
if
do a
it's too...
quick United. Well, yeah, let's do a score here, and then we can just talk a little about United and comment on some of the stuff Christopher and Glenn have said in the chat. So I'm I'm
Do you
gonna
want me
go
to go? Because
bullish.
I'm okay. Go on, no, you go.
I'm gonna go for the clean sheet despite all the issues. I'm gonna go for a 2-0.
Okay, that's not bullish. I'm going 3-0.
You're way more bullish. Fucking hell.
Yeah, no, I'm going 3-0. I just, like I said, I agree with every point you just made. I've just got so much faith in our team tactics and structure. I think if all goes to plan and everyone plays within their footballing education and how they've been taught to play the Arsenal way under Arteta, I think we'll have more than enough to get the job done. I think for me, the difference between 2 and 3-0 is if we do go 1 or 2 up, do we accelerate gears or do we just kind of kill it with 300,000 passes? I'd like us to be in a situation where we are comfortable enough to bring on Vieira. I'm saying this every week, but I'm hoping it finally
Yeah, I
happens.
really want to see him get on, and it just feels like with the game state last game, it was the wrong time. But we do need to find an opportunity to play these guys with 3 games in 7 days. But okay, 2-0 and 3-0, I'll take that. Let me see here. So we'll take a couple of the comments in the chat. and then evening to Mike, evening to FPL Penguin as well.
Hey
Let me
guys.
take some of the ones I've starred. And so we had Christopher Teller saying he'd much rather save Zinchenko for the United game rather than risking him tomorrow. I think I agree, but I have a feeling that if it was as precautionary as it sounded, maybe it's not a risk to play him tomorrow. And with both Elneny and Partey out, I do think if we're going to play Lokonga next to Xhaka in a pivot, I would rather see Zinchenko there at left back than Tierney personally. So
That was my logic as
yeah,
well. I
that
think
is, isn't it?
what was it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's a long period of recovery time. But obviously, if it is touch and go, do not risk him.
Yeah. If there's any kind of risk of re-injury, like I would not be risking. But if it's like an injury-free, he's past fit, he's fine. There's no risk of reoccurrence. Just I think we have to go with him. We were lacking so much without him. So Gabriel is such an enigma from Christopher as well, prone to the odd mistake every now and then. He scores an important goal, plus his physical presence at the back is a good quality to have. So he really wants to see how a back four of Zinchenko, Saliba, White, Tomiyasu does work with obviously the two right footers in centre back and no Gabriel. Yeah, I think that's something I'm looking at. A lot of people assume it would be White who would make way for Saliba, but I'm still not certain that's a given, and it could very well be Gabriel, and we just don't have a left footer there. It just depends on the partnership on left back. So I think if it's Tierney playing or Zinchenko, that would determine whether you then kind of drop Gabriel or Saliba or White, like which one gets dropped. But Saliba on current form, I can't see him getting dropped.
I think it's opposition dependent as well. I think if there's games where our first phase of build-up, the defensive line have enough time on the ball, I think that reduces the need for the left-footed centre back personally, because you've got enough time to kind of get your head up, create those angles through good passing and movement. To be honest, it's the games where you have to think quick and you've only got those split seconds on the ball. That's where I can understand it, because the angles are created on autopilot. That's what Arteta said in All or Nothing, right? When you do things within a structure, it gives it purpose, and that's why we play the way we do.
Totally agree. And then just the last one from Christopher on Lokonga. So I think this is the tweet I'd seen as well, that essentially anytime he'd played as a six for us, we were significantly weaker in the back four. It was likes of Nuno holding and Cedric starting. So
yeah,
I do think that he would look different. I'm not sure we will play him as a lone six, though. I think he'll be partnered with Xhaka in a pivot potentially. So we have Glenn has also changed his captaincy. So to Haaland with Cancelo Vice.
Good luck,
so
Glenn.
He's joined us in the Haaland camp. I was on Salah all week, well, 2 days before the deadline, and then I switched to Haaland a few times, and I saw the predictors from Emma jump the wave, and
98%.
Haaland's starting percentage was enough for me. We're lucky to have the extra day of preparation for United. Yeah, I hope that benefits us. Arsenal, yeah. So this is another one. Obviously, Arsenal doing well means like who cares about FPL? Like even if we have top four rival assets, if they lose, like we're obviously going to be much happier. From a fan perspective than getting FPL points. But yeah, that's kind of everything. I think we can give like a quick 1-2 minutes on our thoughts about United before we get out of here, because obviously, as you said, there's not going to be a preview.
Yeah, I think for me, all I want to say is Partey is a big bloke. So I was quite confident on going to Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago. But Partey is such an important cog in our system. The only thing I want to see from our team is play the game and not the occasion. Like footballing wise, we're a very, very good team. We can go to a lot of places and impose our game on people. And I get that will be difficult without Partey. But that's what we always go to Old Trafford and shit ourselves. And I'm hoping now with the likes of Jesus, Zinchenko, this team learning from that not failure, that's a strong word, but the way we kind of let the top four go, I'm hoping that mentally it's a bit of a different team and just go there, block out the sign of Old Trafford, forget the history of that club and focus on what they are now and play that game. And I think we can go there and get points. I genuinely do. But I'm not confident, because when I say I'm not confident, I don't think we'll come away with 3 points. Logically, I can't say why. I think it is that niggling feeling that they're on a bit of a high at the moment. I think the atmosphere will be intense, and Partey being out and just the team playing the occasion. I just want to see us as a mentally different squad, playing the game, not the occasion. But yeah, I'm not confident on 3 points though. But this is the good thing with 4 games at the moment. We've given ourselves 12 points, some buffer room. Hopefully, we get the job done tomorrow. We've given ourselves a good buffer room to go there with. Sorry, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think I'm not excited about it at all. I was much more confident with Party Fit, and hopefully Zinchenko is fine. So I think that's a key part. I'd like to think that Anthony needs time to bed in. So even if he's ready to start, Casemiro's around, but I really do have faith in the boys, and like I would be pretty disappointed if we didn't at least snatch a point there. But I'd consider that a success. I
I just
wouldn't want to lose, but I'd be very happy with a draw there if we can win the first 5.
yeah, as a team, I just like you know I hate United, right? But I'll give them credit. Like they look like they're improving, and they've got a good manager there. I'm not going to talk about transfer fees, but profile-wise, they're recruiting players that suit the way Ten Hag wants to play, and you can't argue that. But I just have a lot of faith in us as a team to create chances. Southampton created chances against Man United, for God's sake. Like they're not an elite defense. We can get chances against them. My problem is they're looking like they're clicking slowly in attack and what they can do to hurt us as well. But I think there are areas in that team where I think we can get a lot of joy if we isolate and overload their fullbacks. Like Casemiro makes the central zones interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he sort of matches up with Odegaard. But I think tactically we're a better team than them. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We got a few more guys in the chat. Good to see Blue Danube guy. So I was at the Danube River the other day. So
How are you?
I finally got to Budapest, as you know, and like got to see the river that you're named after. Maybe there's more than one of them though. Let me know, Joe. Are you from Hungary, or is that just a handle you like? Apex Collects, thanks for the kind words. Really appreciate that. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
thank you. That's
keep
really
up
nice.
the work. That's really sweet. And Arteta needs to bring out some of the oddities like the
Just
light bulb when you
really
pretty much
sweet.
look at Old Trafford. This week it's a toaster kettle next week. Yeah, so I would love to see, I wish there was an all or nothing for this season and we could see how it's going. Oh, Delia missed the live as well, but one day you'll catch the live. Come on, you Gunners.
Nice one.
Big love to everyone who tuned in and anyone who's watched on VOD afterwards. If you found it helpful, interesting, useful, please hit that like, subscribe as we get closer to 100 subs and we can have our custom channel URL as well. So that'd be really appreciated. But other than that, up the Arsenal for tomorrow. We'll be back once you're home from the Milan derby and we'll review the United game and preview some other games, but we'll put some
And we'll
dates out
touch
for the
on
next
Villa
ones.
as well.
Yeah, we'll touch on the Villa and the United reviews together, I think. But yeah, good to see everyone, and we'll see you guys next time. And good luck for the FPL matches tonight if you're playing.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. On to Villa tomorrow. Up the Arsenal.
Yeah, up the Arsenal.